its social, political, economic, and other issues affecting Liberia and the diaspora Liberian communities.
I did not expect to even make it to Hollywood.
Join Cyrus McGee and Nathan Charles every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on KMTV, Facebook, and YouTube.
I want to be arrested in the midst of my people.
As they discuss the issues, blending the voices from Liberia and the diaspora Liberian communities.
The Liberian Business Association in the diaspora should be used as a vehicle for economic development in Liberia because no country can develop without the diaspora impact.
For sponsorship, call some numbers 612-806-5896, 816-433-3979, or better still, email us at usakmtv@gmail.com. Diaspora Talk, come this out. Good afternoon from the city of Brooklyn Center in Minnesota. I'd like to say welcome to a brand new edition of the program Diaspora Talk here on KMTV, Creative Minds Television. We are everywhere. That's why we are here on this wonderful, wonderful Monday. It's the 5th day of June, 2023. June is fastly moving, and Minnesota is hot indeed. Yesterday, it was a wonderful weather. Today, again, in the 80s, and we're going to be continuing with that weather until I don't know when, but it is summer here, and we are actually enjoying the field of Minnesota. As we always say, enjoy while it lasts. Wherever you are watching us from, Liberia, across the Liberian communities in the diaspora, I'd like to say welcome to our YouTube, Facebook. Our app is on an upgrade. Very soon we'll be back on the KMTV official app, getting it better by the day. But today, like I said, we're going to be having a wonderful time. I'm here with my colleague, Nathan Charles. Nathan, welcome to the program, Diaspora Talk. I know it was a wonderful and busy weekend for us.
Indeed, we are happy to be back on the Diaspora Talk. 125 days in the year. We're hitting towards another 265 days, hopefully. So we gone half of the year. So it's indeed, we've been doing this for 6 months now.
Oh, yeah. Keeping it active. Running, bringing the voices of those in our country and of course here out of Liberia. And this year is very important for us because it is elections year in Liberia. How many seats up for grabs in the lower house? 73 and 15 in the upper house. And then, of course,
and we have how many political parties? Over 36 political parties.
There were how many more?
10
more added, even though there are some of them, they are jumping ship from one end to another. I think about 6 of them joined the ruling coalition. Yeah. And then the MDR is now over to the Unity Party. The Yombli Kanga Lawrence faction of the Liberty Party is over with the ANC. They're all with the Unity Party. It is the Musa Ability faction that is over with the ANC of Alexander Cummings.
So we say things are falling apart or things are coming together?
It is something that the Liberian people, I believe, are watching to see, what will happen. Already there is Rescue 1 and Rescue 2. There is Fixer 1 and Fixer 2. I don't know. What's Simon Freeman's ticket?
Broom 1 and Broom 2.
No, I heard that the Broom guy said he's announcing very soon. Councillor Teran Gonglo will be announcing very soon. Who's going to be?
Councillor 1.
Nubala 1. So is it going to be a legal 1, legal 2? So those are things that happen in fellow Liberians, and those of you that are watching this because of you that we, put our time into doing this. We'd like to say thanks for always being there, and following us. Share the show if you can. Today, we will be having somebody very wonderful with us in studio. We've had him, in 2 other interviews here on Diaspora Talk via the power of social media. But today he's here with us. He's going to be joining us on the flip side of the show in studio. He's no other but veteran journalist Rodney Sieh. Rodney D is the publisher of the wonderful, wonderful Front Page African newspaper. I know you know him very well, Nathan. I did not work with him directly, but I've seen a lot of colleagues who've passed through the hands of Rodney Sieh, including yourself.
Indeed. So Rodney is here to digest the situation from Liberia. That's how we bring on board experts, how for them to give honest opinion, not taking side of the issue. So indeed, Rockner is no stranger to the Liberian media and the entire war. Few days ago, he was on the BBC looking at issues about Liberia, and today will be no different. He will be digesting the issues in Liberia. For those of you who've been following or thinking of situation with election politics, people cross carpeting to another political party, Rockner Sieh will be our guest to digest these issues.
And there is this coming in. We were just talking about what was going to be Legal 1 and Legal 2. There is a release out from Councillor Warner on this entire thing with the Gunglo ticket.
Okay.
And I think you have hints on that. We will be looking at it, but we are glad to be sponsored by the Park Liquor Outlet here in Brooklyn Park, the Brooklyn Chiropractor. They are our prime, sponsors of Diaspora Talk. Also, the Mama T's restaurant. If you are visiting Minnesota and you're looking for somewhere to have that wonderful African taste, not just the Liberian taste, but African
Mama
taste.
African.
Mama T's. Mama African taste. Yeah. So Mama T's, thanks to you also for showing up. Those of you business people out there looking to tell the public about what you do, KMTV is right here at 5901 Brooklyn Boulevard, Brooklyn Center, so 206. You can just walk in here or just call any of the numbers you see strolling there at the bottom of the screen. We will tell you how best we can do exactly that.
And if you're watching this on Front Page Africa, we are live too on Front Page Africa, so you can also share this broadcast. We are teaming up with Front Page Africa CEO, so definitely we are live on Front Page Africa, very much popular network across the world.
So we will take this very quick break. As you know, the National Elections Commission today announced, Nathan, the exact numbers from the biometric voter registration process. They also talk about, the number of underage children that managed to pass through the cracks. So you see, we were talking about this entire biometric thing, whether it was legit or it was just something to show off. Because the question I asked the last time was, I thought the biometric should be something that would tell Nathan you've already registered before, because there is only one unique thing we have as human beings. That's our biometric. That's something we can be from the same stomach as twins, resemble so identical, but just the fingerprint sets every human being apart.
Yeah, but that's why they say biometric, because that's the automatic recognition. Automatic, it's in 5 days. Automatic recognition of individual by means of unique physical characteristics.
There you
typically
go.
of the purpose for security purpose. So
so if people could still, pass through the cracks and register several times, there were people that they call the number of people that register, over one time that the biometrics should have caught. There were underage children that also register. I think about 500 or more of them. They won after after cleaning the rolls, But we're going to be hearing from the next chair, Councillor Deviator Brown Lassanan, as she filled Liberians and Liberia in with the numbers that we're expecting to, participate in our electoral process in October, just a little over 120 days, right?
Yes.
Yeah, to go to October 10th. So we will listen to her, and when we come back, we'll usher in our guest. Rodney will join us on the Diaspora Talk. We're going to be talking Liberia generally. We're looking at the elections coming up and some of the major issues that are taking place or unfolding in our country, Liberia. Don't go away. Let's take this very quick break. When we come back, our guest will be here with us on this edition of Diaspora Talk.
After data synchronization, e-duplication, and adjudication, the National Elections Commission recorded a total of 2,498,904 registrants in the 2023 biometric voter registration exercise after the completion of the data synchronization process. Now I will read the county and the totals. Though we have the disaggregated data, it's going to be very long, so I'm just going to give you the total. Below this text I'm going to read are the details per county after data synchronization, presenting you the totals. Bombing County, 65,004. Bond County, 237,757. Bapulu County, 51,341. Grand Bassa County, 159,553 registered. Grand Kipman County, 86,965 registered. Grand Jida County, 64,202 registered. Grand Crew County, 42,848 registered. Lofa County, 178,037 registered voters. Margibi County, 187,297 registered voters. Maryland County, 68,100 registered voters. Monserrata County, 914,577 registered voters. Nimba County, 308,808 registered voters. River G County, 37,990 registered voters. Riverside County, 14,306 registered voters. Sino County, 56,119 registered voters. Grand total, 2,498,904 registered voters, constituting 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, after the registration exercise in phase 1 and 2, the NEC commenced the deduplication process through the biometric central management system of the 2,498,904 registrants. A total number of 2,471,183 are reported as active registrants. 27,192 registrants were flagged as duplicates across the 15 counties, while 529 registrants were flagged as suspected underage across the 15 counties. These records are being investigated through the adjudication process. All ineligible registrants will be removed, and where warranted, their names will be referred to the Ministry of Justice for prosecution. With respect to the ongoing investigation of the 529 suspected underage registrants, the Commission remains mindful in addressing the matter, since registrants in this category may be minors and therefore have a heightened degree of privacy under the law. Below are the sex disaggregated figures per county, which will be adjusted after the investigation of the duplicates and suspected underage cases at the end of the execution of the provisional registration rule. And as we did prior, I will give you the total. Bomi County, 63,111. Bone County, 234,765. Bapulu County, 50,609. Grand Bassa County, 158,449. Grand Kipman County, 86,512. Grand Judith County, 63,933. Grand Crew County, 42,288. Lofa County, 177,055. Margibi County, 185,308. Maryland County, 67,553. 589. Montserrado County, 901,149. Nimba County, 307,126. River G County, 37,795. River Cess, 39,928. Sino County, 55,566. Grand total, 2,471,183, constituting 100%.
That's the chair of the National Elections Commission, Councillor at Law Director Brown Lasana, there announcing the numbers so far from the biometric voter registration process. So as you heard it, close to 3 million people will be exercising their right to vote come October 10, 2023. We've been joined by our guest, Mr. Rodney D. He's the publisher of the Front Page African newspaper. He's no stranger to the media landscape in Liberia, and the world knows the name Rodney D. Rodney, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I know after having you via the power of technology, we are happy to have you. This is our little space. It's the first time we have you in person at our KMTV USA studio, and it's wonderful having you.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
How is it so far?
It's been good. I'm on my way. We have this project in Barbados, so I'm on my way there. We're trying to reconnect. In 1856, a ship took some Bayesians to Liberia, and Liberia also had one of them became a president of Liberia. Barclay became president of Liberia. So next year, from May 6th to the 13th, we're going to be doing a pilgrimage to Barbados, Liberians in the diaspora back home. We're trying to get a charter flight out of Liberia directly to Barbados. And so it's going to be a very good project. We're going to meet. I met the Prime Minister twice on this project. And the team is going to Barbados this on Wednesday for a week visit to kind of update the government on what's the progress we go on this trip. So it's be interesting.
So what's your direct role on this project?
I'm just part of the planning committee, trying to mobilize the engage diaspora community about the project and stuff like that.
So how important do you really take this Liberia Barbados connection?
I think it's very important because of the historical ties. If you go to Edina, and some of those people that came on the ship in 1856 settled in Edina. Some of them settled in Cruzoville. Some of them, most of them were carpenters, masoners, writers, so they're all embedded in Liberian culture. So we're trying this year, to make sure that we prepare Liberians, the mindset of Liberians, to make sure that the project has a good footing in terms of how we bring the two countries together. Wow. Liberia recently recognized Barbados as a
independent nation.
They have ties with Barbados now.
Okay.
That tie wasn't there. Although we had the connection, there was no direct relationship between Liberia and Barbados. So that's been resolved. So Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon, who was in Liberia last couple of weeks ago, he met the Deputy Foreign Minister about the project. And the government of Liberia has also given thumbs up to the project. So it's a big project. Massive.
Wow. So we in the near future going to see more of a diplomatic exchange, people to people relationship between the two countries.
Yeah.
And a lot of time people would think that, historical look of Liberia, like you're talking about those areas that people from Barbados were, during those years when they arrived, we don't really see anything to say, this where they arrived, this what happened, do you think this could bring up those things that we can have direct history that we can teach to our children that are yet to be born?
And that's why this pilgrimage next year is all about, because we're trying to make sure we get businesses from Liberia going to Barbados also to showcase Liberian products. If you go to Barbados now, you see a lot of similarities between Liberia and Barbados.
Wow.
They have their mama point and they have the waterside, they have the local, communities. So it's a very, you see similarities once you get there. You see things that are similar between the two countries. Because most of the things, the breadfruit was taken from Barbados and taken to Liberia. All those things were, taken to Liberia by them.
Wow.
And they planted farm, they did farming and all this stuff. So it'll be good to see how the two cultures connect after more than 100 years.
That's all.
Yes, it's a good project because just from your explanation, I'm like, oh, I'm from Roseville, and my great grandmother Nettie Charles she came from the USA, and she used to like tell that story. She was 100 at that time, was like 4 or 5 years old. She was like 100 plus years old in Liberia from Roseville. It's the last town between Bomi and Montserrat County. So it's another Concord settlement. So I would love to know more for that.
In fact, if you go to Barbados, there's a wall in the middle of town where they have all the last names of all those who were on the ship.
Wow.
So the descendants of those people were on the ship. So the next year, currently there's a bill in Parliament that the Prime Minister is pushing to make sure that those who were on the ship, their descendants, maybe great-grand uncles, nieces, nephews, whatever, will become citizens of Barbados if this thing goes through.
Wow.
So it's a kind of reciprocation of what's, because we embraced them in 1856 when they came from Barbados to Liberia, and so I think it's a unique historical connection that's happening right now.
So now it's not just the ship Elizabeth.
No, the Cora. They came on the Cora.
That was. I'm saying you got a lot of people in our history. Elizabeth. Now this is an eye opener, and a lot of people young people especially.
Since we went the last few minutes we made there, we spoke. Mr. Ambassador Witherspoon spoke to the librarian, and she said since our visits the last few years, there's been an influx of Liberians and in the diaspora researching their history. As it gets nearer to the project, I think it's going to be a very massive,
interesting. Yeah,
and that could also boost our tourist sector because other people want to go
and see what it is. People want to go to Liberia as well to see what we have, the beautiful Patawi and other areas that people want to stay. So we will keep following on that. But I know you. How has it been going since the launch of the book? You did a launch in London, you did a launch in Washington D.C., and I know the first interview we had with you, you were like on the edge whether you will have this access to doing a book launch in Liberia, and finally you broke that glass ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of. Initially, there were people reluctant, and people were not sure whether the book was going to be critical, or it's going to be, objective, or it's going to be one-sided. So, and as a writer, you want that. You want people to
keep on the edge,
try to figure out what it is you're writing. And I think people who've read the book have been impressed by the quality of the work and the objectivity of it. My presence on KMTV, other medium, BBC, Voice of America, Washington, TV station in Washington, D.C. also helped to promote the book on social media, and also on the fact that it's also on Amazon. It's doing very well on Amazon. So I'm very proud of that.
Like bestseller 5-star so far?
Yeah.
According to Glenda
said she will make sure that it's a bestseller because she's a bestseller as well. But I mean, so what are you getting since the launch, especially in Liberia? I know we talked to you after the one in
Washington D.C.
No, the one in London.
Oh, London.
We talked to you ahead of Washington. Yeah. But so far in Monrovia, what can you say? Who are some of those that attended?
The launch in Liberia was very impressive. It was a sold out crowd. People were very impressed with the quality of the work. MC Caro performed, Nazimen, people were really excited to see them. And we had the portrait duo, they performed also. And the discussions were very detailed about the book, the project, the process of the book, and all that. So it really showcased. I mean, it's not every day you see a book written by a sitting African president. And for me, that was part of the challenge in doing this project, because I wanted to make sure that the project stood the test of time in terms of how people perceive it, how people look at it. As much as there will be some critics, there will be some supporters, it's all good. I embrace it. The thing about life is that you have to have a thick skin. You cannot have a thin skin in life. And a lot of African politicians, what they do is they're afraid to be criticized. They're afraid to have people talk about the negative side of what they do. And if you follow my work, I've always been open to criticism, whether it's good or bad. You go to my website, people comment They insult me, they curse me. I accept it. I don't try to respond to them. I just let it play out because is the world we live in now is open. Everyone can, go on social media and write what they want to write. I cannot suppress someone's view of me while I'm trying to criticize people,
Another person.
So it's something that's open. I accept everything.
Wow. It's on.
Yes, indeed. Like you said, so when I was coming up reading from Fish Africa, I would see some articles against you, and you published it in your paper. I was like, oh, until I got to understand, like, yeah, you have to give other people views and respect their view. Despite it's against you, it's if he will publish that. So let's look at the reception from government officials after you published this book, Mr. President. The story of Africa's footballing president George. We are in the hit. Those that ran in cabinet in the kitchen.
It's funny because there were behind the scenes a lot of people that are not happy that the book was written. But even before the launch, there were a lot of requests from people in government to buy the book in Liberia. So they were open to read about it. And some of them, one or two of them came to me quietly and said, oh, I read this, this and this. And I like that because it showed that although some of them don't like what was written or didn't approve of what was written, and there's still this, they still embrace it. There's still this thing about some people saying, because I didn't get the president's approval, so it means the book is not good, But we all know unauthorized biographies are written every day about presidents, about politicians. They can like it, they don't like it, but it's written. They're written. So once you decide to become a politician, to become involved in politics, to head of a country, your life is an open book. And as a journalist, I'm entitled and I'm obligated to tell a story in my own interpretations or in the interpretations of those who were around the president when he was growing up.
And you've not gotten any direct, response from the office of the president.
No, I know my interview with the Voice of America. I spoke to James Bartlett the other day, and some government officials called him and asked him why did it happen on the show, and they want to dictate their side of the story or whatever. But opportunities were given when the book was being written. I asked the president, I asked people around him to have him talk, and he refused. So now that the book is out, there's nothing. You cannot come in and quarterback and say, you want to address issues in the book when the book is already out there.
Wow. Yeah. So where do we go next? What do we expect to see next from Rodney? Is there another project, another book on somebody else, something else in the making?
I'm busy with this Barbados project.
Okay.
It's a passion project for us, the group that's working on the project, Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon, and others who are part of the project. We've been working hard to make sure that the project next year is a success. We're trying to get a charter flight from Liberia to Barbados. Because there's no direct flight from Liberia to Barbados. So you have to go through either America or through London. We're trying to get a flight out of Nigeria or Ghana to fly. So a lot of people are interested. They signed up already. People are trying to, find a way to sign up for this project. It's going to be a very big, similar to what happened in Ghana with the year of return. So it's going to be a big, massive project. And also I'm looking to the elections in Liberia. I'm looking forward to partnering with you guys and others, to make sure that we cover from polling stations, build up to the election and all that. So for me, it's all about Liberia. It's not about, I'm always open to sharing with people, sharing knowledge, with partnering with people to make sure that we do the right thing. It's not about who's on top or who's at the bottom it's all about making sure that we, come together to make objective reporting that will help the country to take it to the next level.
So while you are here on this Barbados project and probably Rodney taking some time off from Liberia, there is this big news. We heard you after the verdict in the $100 million cocaine case when the guys were set free on grounds that they were the wrong people and all of that. We saw you on that big interview. And after that, we're hearing this news, Rodney being cited by the court, along with Justice Minister Musa Dane, who also condemned the verdict. What is it like? What are you going back to Liberia? Are your lawyers going to be making representation?
Yeah, my lawyers will be making representation. In fact, we finalizing our response, official response to the court. That should be released on Friday when my lawyers appear in court with my deputy Leonard Dudu. So we're hearing things from the court that they're going to arrest us, that they're going to try to threaten us or whatever. But the thing about Liberia is that we have to be very mindful of the fact that we owe this country to everybody. And as journalists, we are obligated to make sure that the things that happened during the war in Liberia don't happen again. And if we see signs of corruption, signs of bad governance, signs of things that led us to the war, we are obligated to inform the public. And the verdict has been criticized by the U.S. government, by international community, by the justice minister, by the government itself criticized the verdict. So they have three branches of government: the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branch. So if the executive branch have criticized the verdict, and the international community have criticized the verdict, who are we to be summoned by this judge, Blamo Dixon, to appear before him? So our team of lawyers are working right now as we speak, preparing our response. And we're not going to back down from anybody. I can tell you that.
Are you standing by those,
Yeah.
criticism, the points you raised in that interview?
They say, oh, we should, because the verdict, the way it happened, right? The day the arrest happened, I was immediately called by security people. Oh, there's a drug bust happening, and you have to send people there. And I was on that around the terrain for almost a whole day, just monitoring stuff. And there was this container that came in the country. And when the owners of the container found that there was this drug in it, they immediately called the U.S. Embassy and the Drug Enforcement Agency. And they blew the whistle on it. And so the American Embassy and the LDEA had video recordings of what happened. The drugs were all, I think the picture we put on social media. I think somebody saw the pictures and everything. And to see that this thing was like an open book. It's not like those days where things happen and say, oh, we heard that there was drug bust at Freeport. This was something that now that we have Facebook, social media, it was all over the place. Someone was arrested. People fled the country, went to Sierra Leone or Guinea. They were apprehended, brought back to Liberia. And then the judicial branch decides that they should go free. And we all know what happens in Liberia. We got a tip of that, things were happening behind the scenes. The jury were tampered with, judges and lawyers were tampered with, passing things around. And so that's what we reported. And as journalists, this kind of international case that has a bearing on Liberia's survival, because you don't want a country like Liberia emerging from civil war being labeled as a drug haven, as a transshipment country for drugs. So it's a major story to tell, and we did the stories. And for this judge to come in after us now to summon us to the court, we feel it's a form of intimidation. And our lawyers will prove, and we stand by what we reported. And I think at the end of the day, we will be vindicated.
That's all.
Indeed. So, looking at this case for Liberia, what image did they paint to the international war and our security and how we handle situation or evidence in court?
As you know, Liberia is a very unique country. It's Africa's oldest republic. And America has been Liberia's traditional stepfather for years, since independence, if I may say. And they've been very concerned about this case. And there are two things that the U.S. don't play with: money laundering and drugs. It's a threat to the U.S. national security. And if they see a country like Liberia becoming vulnerable to drug trafficking, it is a problem. And they're very concerned about this case. From my sources, tell me that Washington is very disappointed with the verdict. And you're going to see some movements in the next few weeks and months against what's happened in Liberia. And so I think the judicial branch, which has been criticized repeatedly by the U.S. State Department annual human rights report. I'm sure you guys read it every year when it come out, that the judges are susceptible to bribes, that jurors are always tampered with. I think just last week, a case in the Maryland area somewhere, they were concerned that the jurors were bribed. So it's not a new thing that we're reporting. It's something that happens in Liberia all the time. So I think people have to be very, very mindful of the fact that this is something that is keen to put a damp on Liberia's image. And it is incumbent on all Liberians, not just the media, but the citizenry, to make sure that we do all in our powers to make sure that Liberia does not become a haven for drugs in the international circles. And I think that's what we're pushing for. And I think the judicial branch will do itself a lot of, good to investigate how $100 million worth of drugs suspects fled the country after the verdict was done. And the funny thing about it is that this drug was burned. They were burned in Liberia. So the judge instructed the jury that they should, if it's a non-guilty verdict, the government should return the money, the money that was seized on the suspect,
$200,000
back to them. So are they going to collect the drugs that was burned and give it back to the suspects? That's how bad this thing looks internationally.
Yeah,
So that's the problem.
and
So the what I'm reading from here, in your story, you went on to say that over 500,000 was given. So they want to know who received this 500,000 to influence people, the jurors, and those in the justice system.
Yeah, a lot of when you're dealing with international trafficking, when you're dealing with international drug law, drug kingpins, they spend a lot of money. And our sources told us that during that week, money was flowing around all over the place. And we stand by that.
in the judiciary.
Yeah, in the judicial circles. That's what we reported. So it's up to the judicial branch to investigate how these people left Liberia, how they came to that conclusion that they were not guilty, what went on during the proceeding. I mean, how did the prosecutor office bundle the case, whether they bundle or not? How were the judges involved? How were the jury pool? How were they situated? All those things need to be investigated. Not you can't investigate the Minister of Justice. You can't investigate the Minister of Information. You can't investigate the press for reporting what everybody knows of what's going on. So there's something was all over the place. The Minister of Justice criticized the jury, the verdict the day after it happened. The government put out a statement condemning the verdict because it's not good for Liberia's image. And the judicial branch, who's supposed to be investigating what was being put out there, they decide to summon Justice Minister, summon Information Minister, someone from Page Africa.
And how about the U.S.
The
Embassy?
U.S. Embassy.
I mean, why can't they summon the U.S. Ambassador, the U.S. Embassy, who was also critical of this verdict? So it's very distraughting how things are happening.
And with all of this, what position is this putting the media when it comes to reporting, things that are happening in the country? Rodney is no stranger to prison. One of the toughest Chief Justice. I can remember under Madame Sieh, the late Justice Johnny Lewis, sentenced Rodney to how many years?
I was first sentenced to 30 days in prison, but then I was released after a few days. The second time was 5,000 year prison sentence.
After you failed to apologize and all of that to Johnny Lewis. And I know that brought a very strange, relationship between then President Sieh and the Chief Justice for partnering. Now you are at this point. What posture are we going to see from Front Page Africa generally? If Rodney is not in the country, your deputies will be summoned.
Yeah, my only regret is I'm not in Liberia right now. If it wasn't for this project, I would be right back, before the court, before the judge. I don't shy away from these kind of things. I believe if you believe in your reporting, you should stand by it. And this is what I live for. This is what media should live for. To challenge the status quo, to challenge those that are the power that be, the people who hold the might, so-called might over the people. This is what we live for. This is what should be done. To challenge authorities when you see corruption happening, when you see bad governance. This is what we should be doing, speaking truth to power. And if the international community perceive that you're going to return $200,000 back to the suspects who were arrested, why not give them back the drugs? This is what the judiciary branch of government should be looking at. Not summoning justice minister, not summoning me, not summoning information minister. The very government that we all live under issue a statement condemning the verdict. So, are you going to arrest the government, the minister of justice? Are you going to arrest the minister of information? Are you going to arrest the U.S. ambassador for speaking out on this controversial verdict? I think the judicial branch is stepping off the wrong tree. And if they're not careful, Liberia will be in serious trouble. We all will be condemned. You'll not be able to travel on your passport because people will feel that the country is a drug-infested country. People wondering why Liberians don't get visa to come to America. With all these news happening, all these negative reports coming out, it's not us. It's the people who serve in the government. If these kinds of reports are not thoroughly investigated, the funders of Liberia, the international stakeholders will say that this country is not serious. And this is why we cannot relent as journalists, as the member of the federal state. We have to hold this government accountable for everything they do.
So what?
Not just the executive branch, but the legislative and the judicial branch.
This was a jury trial. So what power do a judge have to?
No, I think the issue came when the judge, before the jury went to session, instructed them that if there's a not guilty verdict, the government should refund the money back to the drug dealers. I think that, for me, it was trying to influence in the jurors.
It was just education to them.
I don't think it's education. I think in a case like that, as big as that kind of case, I've spoken to legal experts, and they say it was wrong for what he did. It showed that you're already telling the people, well, it looked like these people are not guilty, so there you go. And you're talking
especially that was not a bill. That was not a bill.
Yeah, and you're talking about a country. I've experienced it, where they say that the jury should be members of your peers. Most of the people in that jury pool don't even understand what the case is about.
How were they selected?
That's how I went to jail, because people don't know nothing about media, about libel. They just put them on the jury pool and they find you guilty. This is what's happening now. And it's damaging the reputation of Liberia, because this is an open and shut case that everybody saw. It's not like back in the day where things were in the dark. This time, everything happening now, go on social media, on Facebook. Everybody saw it, clear blue sky. It's like you saw the drugs, you saw the suspects handcuffed, being arrested they brought them from Guinea, from Sierra Leone, back to Liberia. So why did they waste all those resources to repatriate people back to Liberia when they know that people are innocent? And if they were so innocent, why did they escape hours after the verdict was announced? They purchased a brand new Jeep, our sources told us.
Wow.
And the people got in that Jeep and went through the border, because all the airlines cannot account for how these people left the country. So they went through the border. They got a brand new Jeep purchased right in Liberia and left the country. Why didn't they wait for the $200,000 that the justice gave them?
I mean,
they were so innocent. Why didn't they wait for the money?
Wow.
So why is the judicial branch deciding now to come after me, come after Musa Dean, Ledger Rennie, to say what?
And not the U.S. Ambassador McCarthy.
Not the U.S. Ambassador. I mean, I think Liberians should organize a protest based on the verdict to demand that the government of Liberia return the cocaine to the drug dealers and let them take it back to Colombia and Brazil.
Wow.
That is what this case is about. That one needs to be done.
You think it was too fast to have destroyed
I repeat myself.
The cocaine?
If they say the verdict is innocent, maybe they rush to burn the drugs. Let them get it. Let them go stop the drugs and whatever, burn it at. Get it back to the drug dealers. Let them take it back to Colombia and Brazil. This is what the judiciary branch does not understand what's happening. They are damaging Liberia's reputation by allowing this kind of verdict to go like this. The Chief Justice should be investigating how this thing happened. Not investigating me. Who am I?
So if at all your sources were right, how did people get to these jurors, because such case, jurors are circumstanced that you cannot easily have access to them.
In Nigeria?
No, but
let me tell you.
That's why it should be. That's why it should be according to the
Let me
laws.
tell you a story. During my case, when I was in trial, I've experienced this system, so I know it like at the back of my head. Okay. During my trial, for the 5,000-year sentence, one of the jurors, she died now. She was related to one of my former reporters, Danisha Mate. She admitted that they promised them money when they were in the discussion thing. And the judge was informed. In any other country, that juror would have been disbanded. The whole jury would have been disbanded.
Yeah.
It wasn't. The morning of the verdict, I go there. I see my opponent's lawyers coming out of the judge's office, high-fiving each other. Yeah, we won the case. Before the verdict was announced. This is not they say. I saw my own eyeball.
Clo.
I saw it. The U.S. government would not put out a report every year saying the jurors in the judicial branch is corrupt, that judges are susceptible to bribes, the jury pool are always tampered with, without having information. I'm telling you what I've seen with my own eyes.
So this could be like a flashback coming to you, owing from the fact of what you experienced.
And you have people with land cases, different cases, like people, the same problem happening. This is a serious problem. Why the judicial branch is not investigating it? Why the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court is not investigating it? It puzzles me.
I know that's a huge one indeed. We will take this very quick break. When we come back, we will be, looking at other issues. Of course, it is a little over 120 days to elections. Yep. You're following this very closely, Rodney. We will be looking at so far where we are. There was this huge warning coming from the U.S. ambassador to, political leaders who signed on to the Farmington Agreement. We saw what happened at Senator Reverend Evangelist Prince Johnson's church, the condemnation that are coming. And if we are not managing these things going up to elections, what will we, potentially see leading up to 2023, October 10? Let's take this break with our sponsors. When we come back, we will be looking at that and other issues affecting our country, Liberia. Don't go away. Let your celebration begin with Park Liquor Outlet, your first Liberian-owned liquor store in the city of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. We have everything that you need to set that special occasion or bride. For your next party or great get-together with friends, visit Park Liquor Outlet. We have great selection of beer, wine, gin, and many more at affordable prices. Our customer service will make you always want to come back. We are open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Park Liquor Outlet, your one-stop celebration store. We are located at 6315 Zine Avenue North, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Visit us today and feel the difference.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kent. Welcome to Brooklyn Chiropractic. Come to Brooklyn Chiropractic if you're having any back or neck pain. Especially, we specialize in treating people in auto and work-related injuries. So we've been established here in Brooklyn Center for the last 14 years. And one of the pleasures that I have is helping out in the community. We've sponsored a lot of events throughout the years in the community, and we really appreciate being a part of the community. So if you're experiencing any pain, give us a try. If you want a drug-free way to get better. Thank you.
So when did you hear it? A lot of times they are coming to be back then. Like that year. So the person who knew, why you been keeping it secret? What's that? As soon as they come in Jeremiah, they didn't make you. These things come up. You have to say nasty things about people. I've never paid for abortion before. I got 11 children. If a girl get pregnant for me, they say go take her to belly. I believe every child has the right to live. I got children lives with me. I came from down there. So that is just politics. People just try to say things about people. When Costa said that thing, if I take it into court, the people say, oh, the man want to be vibrant, I ain't put the court out. But he himself knew what he said. He texted me, I got a text message on my phone. He said he's sorry. He will go public to apologize on the social media. He came by and apologized. He told you he called me and he apologized. I'm a leader. When you are a leader, the people will throw mud on you. Live. I got a lot of people, children living with me. Most of them are related to me. I send them.
And I tell you, sorry there for the quality of the audio there, but that's Rescue 2. Yeah. Jeremiah Kwankun, Senator of Nimba County, there for the first time publicly speaking to, the issue of allegation of him being involved with the Sieh of Human Past. You listened to Henry Costa that time, and that was what, the running mate to former Vice President Joe Boyka, had to say in Buchanan City, Grand Bassa County. He was there. Buchanan right now, Bassa as a whole, is a grounds that everybody wants to play into. Just like Nimba and Lufa, everybody want to get a share from Bassa as well. Rodney, welcome back. It's good to have you here with us. And you listen to Jeremiah Kuhn. Let's start with that.
Yeah, I think the election is going to be interesting. And as you heard him saying, there's been lots of accusations flying around the country. Everybody's accusing this person. Even besides this, Jeremiah Cohn thing about the Boyo. Last week you heard about the pro-temp accused of buying vehicles.
15 pickups for the Unity Party and over 20 motorbikes.
So yeah, a lot of stories coming out. Whether they're true or not, you don't know. But these things it happen during election season. So I'm not surprised that people are coming out with these things, but it's good for politicians to address them right away, like he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best approach he's taking to address what's happening, with him. I think it's important for when you're running for a public office that these things are addressed, and that's the thing I think people need to understand. And I don't know why there hasn't been a call for a debate in our elections. 2005, I believe there was one debate. I covered that in my book. 2011, I don't think there was one. 2017, there was one. But it wasn't really. It didn't include the
main front runner or so.
It had. Everyone was going out, so everybody was running except for George Weah at the time didn't participate. So all these things are necessary because these questions come out in the press on social media, and people don't address them. And if you don't address these things, people tend to, just go with it.
And with this debate issue, do you think it's necessary to have a legislation that people who sign up, who put forth their name to, run for the presidency of Liberia, they must be forced to tell the public what they're going to be offering?
I don't know why we need legislation for that. I think voters in constituencies around different communities have to demand debate from not just the presidency, but even the legislators, senators running for offices. They need to be in debates. This has to be a demand from the public for it to come into fruition, because you cannot have a country where you keep electing people every time and they get elected and they screw you and you complain when you have the power of your vote in your hand to decide your own future. And that's why I think a lot of people have been disappointed in governments they elect, because they vote now and they regret later because you don't ask the right questions. How many times do you see communities having town hall meetings, inviting candidates to come and discuss the issues? Don't let them come when they come in these places. Ask them the tough questions. What are you about? I mean, what, like the ambassador said, the U.S. ambassador said last week, the media should scrutinize the candidates running for office. But in our country, when you try to scrutinize people, they attack you. The most dangerous thing about Liberia today is what makes it different from the era of the Taylor and the Doe. During the era of Samuel Doe and Charles Taylor, people were afraid of the guns that Doe possessed. They were afraid of the fear that Charles Taylor brought to the table from the Civil War. Nowadays, it's not necessarily the leaders that people are afraid of. It's the Liberian people themselves who do not want to accept criticism of the people they support. So they resort to using social media as a weapon to attack each other.
And while those they supposed to sit and just watch the
gameplay. So the main people who have become the Samuel Does and the Charles Taylors of Liberia's past are now those on social media bullying
one another,
critics, and themselves and each other. That's how bad Liberia has become. And
what impact do you think that is having on our country, especially as it relates to electing our leaders and checkmating people who want to lead?
It's having a massive impact because people who on social media, they have followers. They tell the followers this is what's happening, and the followers follow them without making their own investigation. Tomorrow somebody go on social media and say, oh, they saw there's one Charles in one nightclub last night, two get over with him, and put on social media. Guess what? People following that person who put that thing on Facebook, they will believe it. That's how Liberia has become.
And those who are supporting Nathan will start to go after that person who posted.
Yes, and so it becomes like the war.
In cycle.
So social media is the new Charles Taylor and the new Samuel Doe for Liberia. The bullies are on social media now.
What is it causing? The social media, attacks, bullies, and all this. What is it causing the traditional media? Like people like you, like us, that put a lot of time into what we're doing, getting the facts out there.
That's why we have to keep fighting. We have to keep making our work quality. Yeah. Keep making your work quality, making it the best work ever in your life. Take it seriously because there's so many threats out there. The guns are silent in Liberia. The civil war is over, but the real war is on Facebook. That's what the real war is now. You see people on social media using their pages to attack, to insult people. Instead of selling your candidate, telling the people on Facebook, oh, when this man gets there, he will do X, Y, and Z, you attacking each other. You fighting each other for nothing. Based on lies, most of the time they're lies. They just create this thing and put on social media to fight each other over it. And then they say, oh, they want to defeat George Weah. How do you do it? How do you do it? Then you blame the media. Oh, the media not covering this story, and the government did it. How many times the media have not covered stories that the people don't seize on it and carry it with them? How many times we have not put documents on it on social media, in the paper, you have put your things out here. How many times do they seize it and use it for their advantage? Instead, they are fighting each other. They will fight each other until election day. And then the day after results announced, they be crying all the places they cheated them.
and like somebody told me that, election cheating starts months or a year ahead of the main polling date. That's where it starts, how people play, and now we're seeing a lot of flip-flops, jumping from one camp to another. Rodney might be fishing in Nathan's party. Nathan is also fishing in Rodney's party, depending on, where one's idea may be leading, what the interest might be. And the biggest one in Liberia right now is the issue of Senator Prince Johnson. At first, he supported Madame Sirleaf. He was, called a warlord by the now ruling party. He came back, supported President Weah. He was called warlord by the Unity Party. Some of them even called for George Weah and his CDC to now bring to book this war crimes court. And it's almost 6 years. It's dragging like this. Now Prince Johnson is saying that what we signed up for, we did not see it. We are turning our back. He's now the Bugu man. He's now the angel of the opposition. We see a lot of political parties being formed at the 9th hour. Some of them dropping their manifestos, going to out of the ruling party or the main opposition. I mean, weighing in, what can you say about where our democracy lies?
Our democracy is in tatters because we don't enforce the laws. The election guideline says that if you didn't get you got less than 1% in previous election, you're not qualified to run in the following elections. But you see a lot of parties who participated before coming back and reinventing themselves as political parties, and they're being allowed to contest. The laws are not being enforced. And most of the people you see jumping ships, they're doing it because of jobs. They're doing it because when second round comes, they can say, oh, I gave my support to this person, so they will give me maybe minister of this, minister of that. This is all about. And so that's what's happening. It's all about putting your name out there. Because some of the names you hear in the party, I'm like, who's this person? Last time one of my partners sent me a message, forwarded me a message from somebody he's going to Liberia to contest. I said, who is this person? Who is it? I mean, let's be real about our country. Nobody hardly knows you.
4 months to election.
4 months to election, you're going to Liberia to contest. It's an insult to our democracy to have this happening. And we keep repeating the same mistakes every election cycle. And we think that things will get better. It won't, because we haven't learned from our past. Like I wrote in this book, 2005 elections, 1985 elections. You had the likes of Jackson Doe, Gabriel Pule, B.N. Kessley, all contesting against Samuel Doe. At the time, Doe was ruthless. I can bet my life on the line. If those three parties had come together,
they were beating Doe.
I don't care how much Doe cheat, they would have won. They would have won. But because everybody feels that they can win on their own, they have this, appetite to fight each other in the process. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing now because, and you got to give George Weah credit, President Weah credit. He learned well from Madame Sirleaf. 2011, Ellen was threatened by the Bromskin Weah ticket. What did she do? She put Sieh in a Gary. And that ticket died. The replay is happening against this election.
So you think Weah might have been threatened by the if it had happened, the Boaka Cummins ticket?
Oh no, that ticket would have been Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. That ticket would have been Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I can tell you that.
Despite how being the incumbent president,
they would have beaten her.
And now it is playing now. Everybody thought that it was going to be a Boaka Alexander Cummins.
Yeah, the split. It's like you see the movie playing, right? The movie play in 1985. We also the movie play. We say, oh no, Kessel is too strong. They're too strong. He can beat Samuel Doe. They played it. Then 2017. Oh no, man, John, we are too popular. He can beat Ellen by himself. Oh no, Bromsky ran to 2005. You see how he cleaned that place? This time around, he'll win on your own. Don't underestimate the power of the incumbent.
So why you still don't overestimate the power of the incumbent? Please scrutinize these candidates. We're looking at President George Weah, Joseph Boyka, Tiawa Gonglo, Alexander B. Cummins. Who again? Who were the 4-5 in that?
Simon Freeman.
You cannot rule him out. He's still running the game. Mandela Cooper dropped the mic.
I mean, let's look at 4 of them, because if you look at the comments, the George Weah, the Joseph Boyka, the Tiawon Gonglo, how can you scrutinize them to our audience?
I think in any election, especially in Liberia, it comes down to the running mate issue. I think we are really chose the running mate, and you have to give Weah credit. In 2011 or 2017, he picked Joel Howard early. So the noise that came with that whole
Charles
Taylor
thing,
it kind of simmered down before the election. And CDC popularity plus Bond County was more than enough to give Weah the presidency. This time around, we're looking at Cummings just picked Charlie Bromskin last week. Last week or
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. We're looking at how that's going to play out. The key will be whether Charlie can deliver Grand Bassa for Cummings. The key will be whether Cummings will win his own county, Maryland, this time around. The key will be whether Cummings can tap into some of the southeastern counties that George Weah currently has,
under his control.
Then we come to the Boyka ticket. The key will be how much of an impact the shadow of Prince Johnson over Jeremiah Cohn plays into the Boyka ticket.
The Nima belt.
And Nima belt is likely to become a dog fight, because of it's becoming a big playing ground now, because you got Tiawan Gonglo in that field. You got ANC making gains there because of Musa Belede running for that seat.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the ruling party and investing a lot of money into Nima County and Boyka stronghold in Lofa County.
As a matter of fact, Boyka Unity Party lost the senatorial seat in Lofa.
Yeah.
The most recent race there.
Yeah, so you can't overlook these things that are these different dynamics that's playing out. And it's going to be interesting to see how all of these tangibles play out in the end. But I think it's still a little too early to predict who's going to win, because although the opposition are fighting among themselves, right? The ruling party has its own issues too. The rate is 180 now, almost 180. The last I checked,
187.
Okay, in some places, people are complaining about salaries, arrears, and and so all of these things are also making it, because based on what opposition is doing, this should be a slam dunk for President Weah.
Mm-hmm.
But because of what's happening in the ruling party too, people are not sure what's how this is going to end. So there's still opportunity for Boyka, opportunity for Cummings. Those are the 3 candidates that people are looking at right now. So among the 3 of them, it'll be interesting to see how this thing ends and how it comes together.
So
what's about Gonglo?
Gonglo not choosing running mate yet, so
we're still looking at to see what he's going to do.
But he may be like his sister. What his sister did in Nima County, he may do well in Nima County. You never know.
Edith Gonglo where?
Yeah, she always do well in Nima County. So if that happens to him, he could be a spoiler for someone.
And for the benefit of this, one of our viewers is saying, Rhonda Thomas, Rhonda, you shouldn't have endorsed Cummings from the beginning. You are one of the many problems in Liberia. Did you endorse Cummings at any point?
I have not endorsed anybody.
So
the funny thing about it, in 2005, I interviewed George Weah in Washington D.C. And for some reason, people thought until that moment that I was CDC member. I carried that badge for years. I was a member of CDC, even during Madam Salif's era, because I was critical of Madam Salif's government. They always say, "Oh, that CDC man."
Mm-hmm.
Koji Maulud always used to sleep in our office with the press releases. We carry for them in the paper. So people thought that I was in CDC. So now that this is happening, people assume that I'm supporting one candidate.
Not until you have an interview with Mr. Cummings.
I interviewed in 2016. Yeah.
Okay.
I interviewed everybody else. I offered to interview people. I interviewed Boyka, everybody. So it's not like I don't endorse candidates. I don't believe in endorsing candidates. That's for America and the Western countries, not for Liberia, because Liberia is so small. I think if the day you endorse one candidate in Liberia, your career is over. I've seen it happen to people, to other newspapers. So I don't think you should endorse a candidate because the country is so small, and people, because the country is small and the media landscape is so small, once you endorse someone, say you're taking side. So you have to be very careful how you project yourself. You don't see me praising any candidate on Facebook. I don't do that. I remember last election, one of my employees came to me and said, "Chief, who are you voting for?" I said, "Go vote for who you want to vote for."
Go for vote.
I can't tell you who to vote for.
Nobody.
No one will tell you, say, "Oh, I told them to go vote for somebody." I don't do that. I believe your vote is your power, and use it wisely. That's all I can tell you. But I won't tell you, say, go vote for this person. That's not my job. My job is to write a story and put it in the paper and put it in social media.
So that's a great clarity there for you, Randall Thomas. And recently, in the midst of everything that is happening, the attacks, the counterattacks, we listened to the U.S. ambassador. I thought that we played that excerpt, and then probably you can weigh in on that as we come close to winding down. And this is very, very crucial to our country. Elections year is very, very crucial. Whatever we do today will set Liberia up for the next 6-7 years to come as we get up. So let's take this from the U.S. ambassador McCarthy, his recent view on what happened at the church of Senator Prince Johnson and the signing of the family agreement by our political leaders, how important that is to this electoral period.
The Farmington River Declaration last month. These signatories made a clear commitment to prevent violence, cooperate with law enforcement agencies, expand voter education, avoid inflammatory language and disinformation, and accept the official election results, among many other elements. My congratulations come, however, with a caveat. Going forward, I expect all parties to avoid a repeat of the nonsense that we saw 2 weeks ago with the interruption of church services. The political disruption was completely unacceptable. And to the political leaders, let us say this: if your signature means anything, we depend on your honor to uphold those high standards invoked in the Declaration. So, starting from this very moment forward, come on, guys. You signed it. Now it's time to uphold it. The true test of this commitment will be the execution of a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful election process. So again, this begins right now. It doesn't begin 2 weeks before the election or whatever. Over the next 19 weeks. Free, fair, transparent, and peaceful. I urge media institutions and integrity organizations to keep politicians of all parties accountable to their important declaration commitments, rather than simply reporting on the horse race and who's ahead and what's, ask politicians the tough questions about their platforms and their records. Shed light on party inconsistencies and remind the public what they stand to gain or lose in the lead up to October. It's not easy, but your efforts to hold politicians and government officials accountable are critical to upholding Liberia's democracy.
And I tell you, Ambassador McCarthy there, and Rodney, you listen to him in awe. He put it back at the feet of the media after warning, politicians to, be truthful to what they sign up for. I did not sign it for you. You sign it. And firstly, do you think our political leaders would uphold what they sign up to?
They have to.
Especially when we saw that first altercation between President Weah and former Information Minister Gurich, right after the signing of that, document.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough election process. And only the major players can, and that's my frustration with the different parties, right? You see your candidates on Facebook fighting each other. When last have you heard one of the candidates address their supporters? I say, stop what you're doing. They do not do it. And that's why this thing is happening. Because if you're a leader of a political party and you keep saying, why is this happening? And you don't address it head on, then you're the problem. I got a text message last week from someone who said, oh, you see how this candidate messed up? The thing that his supporters doing, I said, but they're all doing it. I'm not going to get involved because they're all doing it. You cannot say one person doing this, they're all doing it. And these things lead to chaos, lead to confusion, lead to violence if you don't put it in check. You don't know how far these supporters can go to support the candidates. So if we just allow them to keep fighting each other on social media, when the results come out, you never know what they're capable of doing.
If they could even erupt a whole church service.
Yes, and that's what the ambassador is alluding to. And that's why I think each and every political party leader needs to address these issues head on. I think Liberians need to stop this Facebook fighting, the Facebook insulting. It's not good for our democracy. It's not good for our country. And we have to be very mindful of the fact that we only have one country. And if we do not manage this process the right way, it's not just about the government in power. It's about the opposition. It's about how the different supporters of each political parties handle this thing delicately. Because if we're not careful, it might explode and we'll regret later on.
So let's go to the media. As you said, we might regret later on because we watch society. What is the media? What do you expect from the media during this election process?
Well, I just expect the media to be objective in the reporting. I see a lot of journalists on Facebook fighting for their candidates.
For their candidates?
Yeah.
Not their candidates in the PUL election.
No, national election.
National election.
Yeah. I don't think it's good practice. I don't think anyone should openly support a candidate if you in the media, because what it does is that it affects your independence. It affects your objectivity, because you can't be fighting on social media, going at war with people on social media, and expect the same people to read your work when you write and say you're independent media. That's a major problem we see in the media today, and I think I don't think it's a press union issue. I think it's all about how Liberia has become this village of cats and dogs fighting for nothing. Because if you look at the issue they fight about, they will not tell you it's over how one candidate differs from another candidate on economy, on farming, on poverty,
job creation.
It's all about hate, animosity against each other. And this is not good for our democracy.
Now, how do they start into play with, unlike a front page Africa reporter receiving or release on Rodney Sieh against Rodney Sieh is in the front page Africa newspaper, and if my count may be correct, 80% of our media outlets are owned by either a politician or will-be politician. The lack of adequate paid to sustain reporters or journalists out there. How is they hurting the work that we are to do?
This morning I saw a post on Facebook. I think I'm not going to call a name, guy. I don't want to in my thing anyway, but there was a politician on a local radio station this morning, and someone else posted, but I thought my candidate said nobody should put that person on the show on the radio station.
The radio station owned by that candidate?
I don't know if it's owned by them, but they must have some ties to that station.
Okay.
But it just tells you how mad Liberia has become, and how mad social media has been misused by people who know nothing about the media or how the media operates. no radio station should refuse to air anyone.
Not even the national
So
broadcaster.
how do you attack ELBC for only allowing government people to go on the show when you're in opposition supported candidate on social media speaking that kind of language? What does it say about what you want to project as an opposition candidate? How would the incumbent candidate supporters see you tomorrow when they do something to your candidate on national broadcaster ELBC? How do you respond to that? These are things the opposition should be looking at. And because I see a lot of people misusing the media, some of them not even journalists, they just, because they have a Facebook page, they can write anything they want to put there without even getting the facts straight. They just write. And this is why Liberia is not progressing, because everyone feels they know everything. We got so many Facebook commenters, but we don't have people who can teach people how to make market, teach people how to invest rightly, teach people how to do the right thing. All these people are just, all these different dynamics are playing out under the guise of media. Because you have a Facebook page, you think you're a journalist. On the real journalists do the work,
you criticize
it, like you know what you're doing, or because your choice or your candidate is being criticized, you think that the media is against you, and that is the problem we have in Liberia.
Wow, that is the problem we have in Liberia. We're almost out of time. Nita, I don't know whether you wanted to
just
recommend something.
Yes, talk about the security situation in Liberia.
I just got not a call, but someone just came from Liberia to my place, and they told me that I think a week ago there was a dead body in my area. And they've been seeing dead bodies around the town. People just finding bodies in the morning. Wake up in the morning, see a body lying down, and these things happen usually around election season. We've seen some reports of young people, girls, boys, with parts missing in rural Liberia and stuff like that. Security issues are not to be taken lightly. And it goes back to this hunger to win at all cost. And it goes back to social media and how we project candidates and how far would a candidate go to win. Are you willing to kill someone's child and take body parts to go to juju men to go make your medicine for you to win election? Are you going to kill somebody who you feel is threatened by? And people take this thing for granted. But during the days of Samuel Doe and Charles Taylor, we see these same things. People just mysteriously getting killed, missing. You can't find where they are. I remember when the war was coming to Liberia, people were just getting missing, people dying. And I tell you something. If an opposition candidate, God forbid, has something happen to them today, the other party will celebrate. That's how bad this thing is.
Wow.
And if we Liberians do not put ourselves in check, the road that we are going on will regret it for the rest of our lives. We have to stop this hatred on social media. We criticize the government, executive branch, we criticize the legislative branch, and criticize the judicial branch. Today, I'm criticizing the Liberian people. We have to checkmate each other. Social media, Mark Zuckerberg created this Facebook platform. And on the one hand, people are getting rich from Facebook. People are getting rich from Instagram. People are getting rich from TikTok. There's a Senegalese guy who's a multimillionaire now because he on TikTok. Have you heard any Liberian getting rich from Facebook or TikTok or Instagram? All we're getting rich from is hate. Hate. That's what Liberians are known for now. Hate. Our passion and desire for politics is driving this country mad. And if the parents don't try to tell the children, if the uncles and fathers and mothers don't educate their children about what's happening, we will see this country collapse. And when it collapses, it'll be too late. Chaos and violence, elections start from social media. It's how we sit back and watch these things happening, and we laugh about it. We think it's a competition thing going. Oh, that politics, man, you know, how you see it's not just politics. You planting seeds of discord, you planting seeds of violence, you planting seeds of chaos without even knowing it. And that's the dilemma Liberia faces today.
Wow, that's a tough one indeed. And I see.
Yeah, I want to give a double dose question. You just summarized it. I show all the time. You cover sports. Looking at the sporting activities in Liberia, what is the future like? Also, to the legislature. I mean, what can you see concerning their working? Because it's been 6 years. Some of them have been there. Are they issues? Are they problem to our democracy? What can you say concerning their own contribution towards this George Weah administration? Also to Jefferson Kochi, he's been in the news. What are you hearing concerning his involvement with all of these things that we're hearing?
I think a lot of people are not sure how this whole thing is playing out. The issue with Koji, I think he's had several press conferences trying to clear his name for everything that's happening. You know, anytime you're in government, you're bound to be under the scrutiny, under the microscope. And I think when Koji was in opposition, he had the right to speak out against issues. He even fought his own party at one point. He and Joey were fighting at one point. But now that you're in power, the tides have changed. People see you as a target. And you have to be the one to be above the fray. And I think he's been trying, but I think he needs to address this issue about issue of the guns, the issue of training people, all those things around him. As a young man, he needs to address that issue before it gets out of hand. I think it's something that I think he has some press conferences talking about it already, but he needs to keep doing it, because the thing about this generation is if you allow something to stick in people's mind, they will believe it. And I think he will do himself a lot of good to, you know, address those issues. I think a lot of people are watching how things are playing out. They're watching how the government proceeding. They're watching looking toward the end game of this whole process. And at the end of the day, it will come back down to one simple question: are you better off than you were 6 years ago? If you are, then the incumbent George Weah is the man for you. If you think that you're not better than you were 6 years ago, then you look at the opposition pool and see who there can better fix or better rescue or better sweep or better redeem what you have experienced over the last 6 years.
All right, we've had a wonderful, wonderful time here on today's edition of the Diaspora Talk. Rodney D has been our guest. He's no stranger from Page Africa, publisher, the man who was sent to jail for how many years? 500 or 5,000 years. But yet still, he's out. He's facing another one, a summon this time from the lower court as it relates to the 100 million drug cocaine or drug case that you know. Those that were on trial are out there now. Nobody know where they are. Fled the country, left their 200,000 in the hands of the government. Yet to get that.
Man, but the people are free, man. So who determine where they go?
Better Chile. So our eyes are out there to see what comes out of Friday's appearance, and not just you, the Minister of Information, the Minister of Justice. We will be looking to see what will come out of that. But we'd like to say thanks to you, Rodney, for availing your time. I know you're a very busy person. You couldn't make it last week Friday, and today you were able to stop in. It was wonderful having you, and we hope that by the time everything settles, we will get to follow on this whole Barbados thing. We probably were going to be on that trip to Barbados to see what it looks like there.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you'd like to say finally as we wrap it up?
I'd just like to wish Liberians well. We have to. This country is all we have, and we all owe it to ourselves and our country to make sure that we avoid the trappings of what happened in the past. No one likes war. No one wants to go back to war. No one likes violence. And so we all should pay our part, pay our dues to make sure that we do the right thing. And part of doing the right thing is avoid hatred, avoid chaos, avoid violence, and just make sure that we allow ourselves, give ourselves a shot, a fighting chance of transforming our country. And no matter where you are, what you do in this life, it's important for you to make sure that you do the right thing. And that's all that matters.
Wow, the right thing is what matters. And indeed, October 10 is not too far. We're going to be making a major decision. Folks out there would like to say thanks for following Nathan Charles and I. We'll be here on Wednesday with a new edition of Diaspora Talk. Let's keep the peace. Call your family and friends back home. It's about crucial. It's about time. It's very crucial in our country. Whatever we do and say will follow us into October 10. Until Wednesday, have yourself a wonderful time. Thanks to Mama T Restaurant for being a part of this. The Park Liquor Outlet, of course, the Brooklyn Chiropractor, who are also standing with us in helping to support and sponsor Diaspora Talk, keeping it up here. We're back on Wednesday, same time on this network. Don't go away. More goodies coming from KMTV. We are everywhere. That's why we are right here. Bye-bye. When the issues of Liberia hit the news,
what is it that we, the Liberian people, want?
The Liberian communities in the diasporas are not left out. That's why Diaspora Talk is back on your screens on KMTV. In fact, the United Party is not cohesive. Be it social, political, economic, and other issues affecting Liberia and the diaspora Liberian communities.
I did not expect to even make it to Hollywood.
Join Cyrus McGee and Nathan Charles every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on KMTV, Facebook, and YouTube.
I want to be arrested in the midst of my people.
As they discuss the issues, blend the voices from Liberia and the diaspora Liberian communities.
The Liberian Business Association in the diaspora should be used as a vehicle for economic development in Liberia because no country can develop without a diaspora impact.
For sponsorship, call cell numbers 612-806-5896, 816-433-3979, or better still, email us at usakmtv@gmail.com. Diaspora Talk, come this out.